Hey, everybody, welcome in once again to another episode of the Mausner Graham Injury Law Podcast. I'm Bruce Silverman. I am so excited to introduce to you the newest partner of the Mausner Graham Injury Law firm, and that's Justin Guido. And Justin, congratulations. I know that you're just a few months into your new position at this new firm, but the reality of it is Eric Mausner and Tom Graham are people that you have known for quite some time.
Well, that's correct. And it's nice to be with you. Eric and I, we are friends going back to college. We both went to GWU in Washington, D.C. And Eric actually lived down the hall from me for about 2 years. I won't go into any incriminating stories.
No stories in this video. I got you. Eric's off the hook.
And then I had the pleasure of working with Eric at the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office, where we were both prosecutors together. And at that same time, Tom Graham was also a prosecutor in the same office.
So you have this long-standing relationship with them, and we're going to table that for a minute. Let's go back to the beginning. Who's Justin? Where did he come from? How does he end up in Miami, and how does he end up in the Mausner Graham law firm? We'll get all the way through that to the end as we go along, but let's start at the beginning.
All right. Well, how much time do you have, Bruce? That's the question.
Oh, we're just going to go and have some fun. No worries. Just
okay.
I'll keep an eye on the clock. You just talk.
Excellent. So, Bruce, basically, I grew up in New York. I grew up in Westchester County, New York. Folks out there might know that that's about an hour north of Manhattan. Growing up, I had an older brother. I've got, had my wonderful parents. My father was a transactional lawyer. There's throughout growing up, I would always be at the breakfast table with my dad, and usually that would go. It would basically play out that we'd get into some debate over either current events or politics, and kind of learn his way of thinking as an attorney. And once I graduated high school, I went to the George Washington University in Washington, D.C., which, as I mentioned, is where I first became friends with Eric. And after that, I went back up to New York to complete law school at Pace University School of Law.
Okay.
And then made my way down to Miami to start at the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office. So sort of touring the East Coast, New York, D.C., Florida. But I think I'm settled on Florida.
Okay. So you're working with the State Attorney's Office. What kind of law were you practicing with them?
At the State Attorney's Office, it was criminal law. So I was a prosecutor. I was working on behalf of the state of Florida to bring cases against accused criminals. And, in that capacity was advocating on behalf of not only the people of the state of Florida, but also crime victims in those cases. So, when I was looking to apply to jobs out of law school, I knew that I wanted to get courtroom experience. During law school, the classes that fascinated me the most were trial advocacy classes, pre-litigation, civil pre-litigation seminars, hands-on classes where you were doing practical day-to-day litigating. So I made that decision, and I said, if I'm going to be a litigator and if I'm going to be a trial lawyer, I need to get into a position that allows me to access the courtroom as much as possible and try cases. And that's exactly what the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office provided.
So you already kind of started mapping out what your career was going to be. You knew the experience that you wanted to have. Did you think that you were going to be a career prosecutor, or did you think, hey, I just need to get the quality experience before I go to phase two?
Well, I think part of it was I looked at it as sort of the equivalent of residency for med school, right? It was a way to get quick hands-on experience in the courtroom. And then I figured I would take that experience and translate it over to whatever the next step was going to be, ideally something in civil litigation. And so the valuable experience that the state attorney's office provided was being in the courtroom every single day in front of a judge, advocating, arguing motions, trying cases. I was maybe a month-old, 2-month-old baby lawyer when they told me at Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office, hey, you're going to go pick a jury and try this DUI case. I was terrified, but I did it. And that's probably the best way to learn, is sort of trial by fire. Just go in there and do it.
No pun intended by trial by fire, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So after your time at SAO, where do you go next?
After the state attorney's office, I needed to start making at least a little money. I had spent 3 years in law school, and then, at the state attorney's office, while you do get very valuable experience, the pay isn't ideal. So I went to a civil defense firm, and I stayed at that firm for around 7 years, and eventually became a partner at that firm.
And now you're at Mausner Graham. What's the process from going from a firm that you're a partner in to being in practicing a different type of law and becoming a partner with that firm?
Well, so when I was on the defense side, I was at a mid-sized firm. It's about 110 lawyers. The practice areas that I handled were primarily casualty and personal injury litigation. So I was defending big business, startup business, insurance companies in casualty cases and personal injury cases wherein you had a plaintiff who was injured and was suing a company or an insurance company for compensation for their injuries. Moving to the plaintiff side, obviously where I am now, the work is the same. It's the subject matter is the same. I'm just on the opposite end of the courtroom. And so the experience that I got throughout my 7 years on the civil defense side is valuable on this side, because I was able to take the insight I gained in defending the entities that are now defendants in my cases and use that to advocate for injured plaintiffs.
Being on this side of things, how does that kind of affect you as an individual, not as an attorney, but representing people versus defending corporations?
Well, the human element to the work is encouraging. It's nice to have a face with a file, right? It's nice to be able to routinely meet with an actual person in whose life, ideally, you're going to make a difference at the resolution of the lawsuit. I enjoyed the 7 or so years I had working on behalf of companies and businesses. And there are a lot of businesses, Bruce, that do want to do the right thing by injured plaintiffs. Unfortunately, there are others that don't. But when I came over to this side, the plaintiff side, there was an additional sort of encouraging factor, which is that now I'm advocating for an actual human being, a person, somebody whose life was personally impacted and affected by whatever the underlying incident is in the lawsuit.
So I know that you've been with Mausner Graham now, I think, since June, correct?
Yep, June,
okay.
That's right.
So when you left the state attorney's office to joining Mausner Graham, what kind of interaction did you have with Eric and Tom?
Well, I was always in touch with Eric because we're friends outside of a work context. So we remained friends throughout all that time. And he would periodically tell me about this exciting new venture that he was starting. At that time, it was just Mausner Law. Tom hadn't yet joined him. We'd, talk law, we'd talk shop. And he always kind of liked to pick my brain about some of the issues in his cases to get a defense perspective on things. And in the course of those conversations, he used to say to me, this could be a valuable asset on our side. And, kind of just put that out there, and maybe he'll take the bait type of thing.
It's one of the things that I've always really admired about Eric is he always wants to get the big picture and see the big picture. And I can imagine that in his private conversations with Tom about where do we take this firm, where do we go, having someone on the inside that has been on the other side must make it incredibly valuable, not just for your own clients that you handle personally, but also for what you can do for the firm and clients that you don't handle, that Tom handles, that Eric handles.
Correct. I like to think that what I bring to the table in part is, aside from obviously, now almost 11 years of litigation experience, including trial experience, is the insight into how the lawyers for the defendants who are down the block or just over the bridge in Brickell, we're downtown, are sitting around strategizing about the case. What they're saying the defenses are going to be, how they're going to counter the allegations, and being able to formulate a response to those defenses, because I know what they're going to be, and I have a pretty good idea of what the conversations are going on among the other side. And so that's, I think, an aspect that Tom and Eric, who are both career-long prosecutors and plaintiffs' lawyers, may not have previously had. And just on your other point, Bruce, it's quite astonishing and impressive the extent to which Eric has turned what was initially just a vision about a plaintiff's personal injury firm into a real moving and living thing. He's grown the firm tremendously, and he's doing a real excellent job in growing the firm. And I'm just, as a friend, I was blown away. I'm like, when we had our initial conversations about me coming over, I said to him, I'm proud of you. This is a really cool thing that you put together. It's not easy to do, and you're an entrepreneur, and that's pretty neat.
No, anytime that someone can put together a business and have a vision and see it through, it's really impressive. And when it is someone that you like and you respect and you consider a friend, you become happy for them. And I'm sure that probably made the transition from being a partner in one firm to being a partner in this firm, probably made the decision for you that much easier.
Yes, that's a good point. It was definitely a motivating factor. It wasn't just an opportunity to join talented attorneys on the plaintiff side. It was also an opportunity to join talented attorneys and a lifelong friend in growing what we expect to be a very successful business.
So Tom has his expertise and background and really specializes in maritime. And Eric really specializes in all aspects of personal injury. What is going to be your role within the firm in terms of your background, your expertise, and the types of cases and clients that you're going to work with?
Well, what I've been doing over the past 4 months is to work on an array of different personal injury matters, premises liability cases, auto accident, trucking. And we've got a boating accident case that I'm working on with Tom, too, actually. And then we've got some negligent security matters. When I was on the defense side, I developed a bit of a niche in the negligent security work. I really like the work. It has some elements of criminal law in it because you've got a third-party criminal actor who's committed a wrong against the injured person. And so ideally, I hope to carry that bit of expertise over to the plaintiff's side and help Eric and Tom with these types of cases here at Mausner Graham.
Well, I think that's fantastic. It brings you, not it, you bring a new perspective, a different perspective, a very valuable perspective to the firm and its clients. So anyone that has issues with personal injury, maritime, needs legal assistance, needs legal help, needs legal advice, Mausner Graham is the law firm to reach out to, whether it is Justin Guido or Tom Graham or Eric Mausner. You will be in very good hands. And most importantly, you'll be with a law firm that truly cares about the individual, cares about the situation that they have been involved in. And you're very, very interested in ensuring that your clients are taken care of in every aspect of not just the case, but also about their health and their well-being. And I think that's something that every law firm should strive for. But I know personally that Mausner Graham is that type of law firm.
Yes, exactly. I think you said it very well. And you probably give a more ringing endorsement than I ever could.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah,
that's why I'm here. That's why I do what I do for you folks.
And you've got that persuasive radio announcer voice, so that helps.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing out that I have a face for radio while we're on video. Thank you very much.
I didn't say that.
Hey, I wasn't going to say anything about the fact that we have two great hairstyles, but now I will. Yeah. We'll wrap up that way. Folks, if you have if you find yourself in any position of needing legal assistance in the personal injury or in the maritime space, please reach out to Mausner Graham. He is Justin Guido. I'm Bruce Silverman. You got something to add there?
If I could, Bruce, yes.
Please.
It's piggybacking off of what Bruce said. Look, this is not a 9-to-5 job for us. This is an around-the-clock experience, actually. And in an event that a client needs to speak with us, we're always there, whether it's about legal issues on their case or just to vent about, their frustrations with their injuries and the bad experience they had that led to those injuries. So to your point, Bruce, we are a firm that dedicates 24/7 ourselves to our cases and our clients.
I could not have said it better myself. He's one of the principals. He is Justin Guido. I'm Bruce Silverman. Thanks so much for being with us, and we'll see you next time.